When I completed the Pirate Kings DLC in Kingdom Rush Vengeance for the first time, I could not stop thinking about it. It was probably one of my favorite set of levels, just throughout the entire series. Like, if there was a game that was only these 5 levels, I would still probably buy it and replay it at least like 3 times. Every gimmick they throw at you is at the very least decent. There's so many times where they strip your power away from you or just completely wrap you in chaos, and I really like how they go about doing it. Not to mention, every single stage looks completely different and brings an entirely new atmosphere. I initially wanted to do an entire video on it, although I figured everyone else would be doing that, and I started thinking about something else instead. And then I realized how interesting the new hero was. Vengeance has no shortage of well-made heroes. In fact, the last couple were especially interesting, although I do think that there's more to Lucerna than meets the eye. I guess the first, but least interesting thing to get through is that she can fly and teleport, which I know you're so excited to hear, like, we've never had any heroes that can do that, right? I kinda rolled my eyes when I learned about this, although I got over it pretty quickly. I actually kinda like that she flies now that I kinda think about it. A benefit to flying is that she's kept away from dangerous ground enemies, but with her abilities she can still block the road by summoning a couple units of her own, or possessing enemies to fight against each other. All this gives her the ability to attack from a safe distance, which is a good thing because I've checked her regeneration and it's not great, although I think this is where the teleporting comes in handy. An interesting thing about Lucerna is you'll probably need to know when to micro her. Since she can't really regenerate much on her own, you'll need to teleport her to a safe distance. While she's never really safe, she can always back herself up with the previously mentioned support. And she has magic resistance as well. Suck it, Thor. But my favorite thing about Lucerna is her ability to collect gold off of enemies with her basic attack. Gold collecting is a very interesting mechanic in Kingdom Rush, although it's very hard to balance it properly. I think they get the closest they possibly could with Lucerna, because she's pretty lucrative, but this doesn't really get in the way of her main role. I kinda like this way of balancing. You could choose a hero who's pretty capable on their own and can do pretty good damage in basically any situation, but you could also use Lucerna and get a couple extra pieces of gold in the process, while not performing as well, but still doing something. They managed to make a gold-collecting pirate hero who's completely different from Captain Blackthorn, but equally as balanced and viable, and quite honestly, as enjoyable. Most importantly, I like that none of her abilities really fight with each other. While she's got a lot of tools to protect her own weak spots, she can't always be there for herself, which I think is where the extra gold comes in handy. It's kind of for you to build your own defenses for her. A lot of well-designed heroes throughout the games want you to experiment with them. They want you to find out how to utilize their biggest strengths, and with how much her abilities really synergize with each other, I think this shows for her. I think in a weird way she kinda benefits from a game that has specifically more towers than usual. While she gives you the chance to try out steep or attack-focused towers like the Shipwreck, there's always room for experimentation with what she's got. I think that's why she's introduced so late. At this point you've probably figured out a couple synergies for your options. It's an interesting design choice that I think finally panned out here specifically. But that's basically the most I can say for Lucerna right now, before I start repeating myself anyway. I really like how they were able to pan out a couple difficult design choices and really make them work in an interesting and unique way. I see the same things in a lot of heroes in Alliance so far. I think the team is more professional than we're giving them credit for. That's about it for right now, but don't pirate small games, and